Captain Taman stood before the massive windows of the transport ship and watched the Galactic Council station grow larger. It was the biggest structure he had ever seen. The station looked like a giant ring of silver and gold, floating in the darkness of space. Lights blinked across its surface like stars. Somewhere inside that ring, humanity would make its first request to join the galaxy. "It's beautiful," said Hana from behind him. She was his tactical officer, a woman with sharp eyes who never missed a detail, but also terrifying. Taman nodded. "Everything about this is terrifying." They had been traveling for 3 months to reach this place. Earth had only discovered faster-than-light travel 5 years ago. Before that, humans thought they were alone in the universe. Then the signals came. Then the visitors. Then the truth. The galaxy was full of life and humanity was late to the party. Sung-Ho walked up to join them. He was the team's weapons specialist, a tall man with steady hands. The docking controller just sent new instructions. "They're making us wait another hour." "Of course they are," Taman said. He was not surprised. Every species they had met so far treated humans like children. Worse than children, actually. Like pets. The reason was simple. Earth was what the galaxy called a death world. Most intelligent species evolved on calm planets with light gravity, few predators, and stable weather. Earth was different. Earth had hurricanes that could destroy cities, earthquakes that could split the ground open, predators that hunted in packs, gravity so strong that most aliens needed special suits just to walk on the surface. Humans evolved to survive all of that. They were stronger, faster, and more durable than almost every other species. But the galaxy did not see that as impressive. They saw it as proof that humans were primitive. "Barely civilized, dangerous. How long until the presentation?" asked Yuna, the ambassador. She was a small woman with gray hair and eyes that had seen many negotiations. She had been a diplomat on Earth for 30 years before joining this mission. 2 hours after we dock," Taman replied. "We should prepare." The docking process took another hour, just as Sung-Ho had said. The station was so large that their entire ship fit into the docking bay like a toy. When the doors finally opened, they were met by a small floating robot that spoke in a high-pitched voice. "Human delegation, follow me. Do not touch anything. Do not speak to other species without permission. Do not deviate from the path." Taman felt his jaw tighten, but he said nothing. They followed the robot through long corridors. Other aliens stopped to stare at them. Some looked curious. Others looked disgusted. A few looked afraid. There were so many different species. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others floated in special bubbles filled with liquid. One group had 6 arms and skin that changed colors. Another species looked like tall insects with too many eyes. All of them stared at the humans. "They act like we're monsters," Hana whispered. "To them, we are," Yuna replied quietly. "Remember the briefing. Most of these species never killed another living thing in their entire evolution. They don't eat meat. They don't fight wars. The idea of hunting another creature for food makes them sick." Taman understood. Humans were predators. It showed in their eyes, which faced forward for tracking prey. It showed in their teeth made for tearing meat. It showed in their bodies built for running long distances and fighting. Every species could see it when they looked at a human. They saw a hunter. The robot led them to a waiting room near the council chamber. "You will be called when it is time. Wait here." The door closed, leaving the 5 humans alone. Besides Taemin, Hana, Sung-Ho, and Yuna, there was also Ji-Woo, their legal advisor. He was a young man who had studied galactic law for 3 years, learning every rule and regulation. "Are we ready?" Yuna asked. "As ready as we can be," Ji-Woo said. He held a tablet with all their documents. "We're only asking for basic trading rights and permission to establish 1 colony on an unclaimed world. It's the minimum request possible. They'll still try to deny it," Sung-Ho said. "They don't want us here." "Then we convinced them," Taman said. "That's why we came." An hour passed. Then another. Finally, the door opened and the robot returned. "The council will see you now." They followed it into the council chamber. Taman had seen pictures, but nothing prepared him for the reality. The room was enormous, shaped like a bowl with seats rising in circles all around. Thousands of aliens sat in those seats, representing hundreds of worlds. At the bottom of the bowl was a small platform where the humans were supposed to stand. Every eye in the room turned to watch them walk down the long ramp to the platform. Taman kept his back straight and his face calm. He could feel their judgment with every step. When they reached the platform, a hologram appeared above them, showing the council leaders. There were 12 of them, each representing a major power in the galaxy. But one stood out immediately. His name was Velcor, Supreme Commander of the Vrelian Empire. The Vrelians controlled more space than any other species. Velcor was large for his kind, with purple skin and 4 arms. His face looked almost human, except for the extra eyes and the ridges along his skull. Humans. Velcor's voice boomed through the chamber. You stand before the Galactic Council to make a petition. Speak. Yuna stepped forward. Honorable Council members, we come in peace and friendship. Humanity wishes to join the galactic community. We ask for permission to trade freely and to establish one colony world in unclaimed space. We offer our skills, our knowledge, and our cooperation in return. There was silence. Then Velcor laughed. It was not a kind laugh. Skills? What skills could a Deathworld species possibly offer? You are violent. You are aggressive. You eat the flesh of other creatures. You wage war on your own kind. Why should we allow such a species to spread through the galaxy? Taemin felt anger rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. Yuna continued speaking, her voice steady. We do not deny our history, but we also do not apologize for surviving. Earth made us strong because it demanded strength. We wish to use that strength to help, not harm. More laughter from some of the council members. Not all, but enough. Taemin could see that many species looked at humans with fear and disgust. The debate went on for an hour. Other species spoke. Some supported humanity's request. Most did not. Finally, the council voted. The result was narrow, but they won. Humanity was granted provisional status. They could trade, but only with council approval. They could have one colony, but it had to be inspected regularly. They were part of the galaxy now, but barely. Thank you, Yuna said, bowing her head slightly. Do not thank us yet, Velcor said with a cold smile. You have much to prove, little humans. The session ended, but Taemin knew this was only the beginning. The real challenge was yet to come. The reception hall was even more impressive than the council chamber. Crystal pillars reached up to a ceiling so high it disappeared into artificial clouds. Tables floated in the air, covered with food and drinks from 100 different worlds. Music played, though Taemin could not identify any of the instruments. Aliens of every shape and size moved through the space, talking in groups or standing alone. Stay alert, Taemin said quietly to his team. They had changed from their formal uniforms into ceremonial dress. Each human wore traditional clothing from Earth, modified slightly for the occasion. Taemin wore a simple black coat with silver buttons. Hana and Yuna wore elegant dresses. Sungho and Jiwoo wore suits similar to Taemin's. Each of them also wore a ceremonial blade at their side. It was a human tradition, a symbol of honor. The council had approved it after reviewing the cultural significance. The blades were real and sharp, but they were meant to be symbolic. No one expected them to actually be used. There are more species here than I can count, Hana said, her eyes scanning the crowd. As a tactical officer, she could not help but assess every room for threats and exits. At least 200 different delegations, Jiwoo confirmed. This reception is mandatory for all species with council business. They moved into the crowd. Some aliens nodded politely to them. Others turned away. One species, which looked like floating jellyfish in containment bubbles, quickly moved to the other side of the room when the humans approached. We make them uncomfortable, Yuna observed. Good, Sungho muttered. Maybe they'll leave us alone, but they were not left alone. A small group of aliens approached, led by a being that looked almost like a bird with feathers and a sharp beak. Humans, the bird creature said in slightly awkward English. I am Delegate Kirik of the Avian Collective. We voted in favor of your petition today. Thank you, Yuna said warmly. We appreciate your support. Your world sounds fascinating, Kirik continued. So much danger, yet you survived. Even thrived. It is admirable in a terrifying way. They talked for a few minutes. Kirik was genuinely curious about Earth and asked many questions. How did humans deal with predators? How did they survive such strong gravity? Why did they eat meat when plant food was available? Taemin answered as politely as he could, though some questions felt insulting. Did this species really not understand that different worlds created different needs? Other aliens approached throughout the evening. Some were friendly. Some were curious. Some were clearly afraid but trying to hide it. The humans did their best to be diplomatic and calm. Then Velcor arrived. The Vrelian Supreme Commander entered the hall with an entourage of guards and assistants. The crowd parted before him like water. He was even larger in person than he had appeared in the hologram. His forearms moved with purpose, and his multiple eyes scanned the room until they found the humans. He walked directly toward them. "Here comes trouble," Sung-Ho said under his breath. Velcor stopped a few meters away from the human delegation. His guards formed a semicircle behind him. Taman noticed that many other aliens were now watching the scene with interest. "So, the Deathworlders celebrate their small victory," Velcor said loudly. His voice carried across the hall, and conversations died down as everyone turned to listen. "We celebrate the opportunity to prove ourselves," Yuna replied carefully. "Nothing more. Prove yourselves." Velcor laughed. "You are primitives who barely discovered space travel. You come from a world so hostile that merely visiting it would kill most civilized species. You are not fit to walk among us." The hall was completely silent now. Every alien watched and listened. Taman felt his heart rate increase, but he kept his face neutral. "We understand that our world is different from yours. But different does not mean inferior." "Different?" Velcor's eyes narrowed. "You are barely sentient apes who learn to use tools. Your species wages war on itself. You kill and eat other living creatures. You destroyed your own planet's environment through greed and violence. And now you want to bring that savagery to the galaxy?" Yuna stepped forward, her voice steady despite the insult. "Supreme Commander, we acknowledge our history, but we also acknowledge our growth. Humanity has learned from its mistakes. We seek only peace and cooperation." "Peace?" Velcor laughed again, and several of his supporters joined in. "Your kind does not know peace. Violence is in your blood. It is written in your very biology. You are predators, killers. We are survivors," Taman said, his voice hard now. "Earth taught us to be strong. But strength does not equal violence, does it not?" Velcor took a step closer. "Tell me, human, how many of your own species did you kill in your wars? Millions? Billions? How much blood soaks the soil of your death world?" The questions hit hard because they were partially true. Human history was full of violence and war, but it was also full of art, love, discovery, and growth. Taman wanted to explain that, but Velcor was not interested in listening. "We made mistakes," Yuna said. "All species do." "But we learned—" "You learned nothing!" Velcor's voice rose to a shout. "You are animals. Dangerous animals. The Council made a mistake today by granting you any status at all. You should have been quarantined on your death world until you evolved into something civilized." Taman felt his hands clench into fists. He forced them to relax. Getting angry would only prove Velcor's point. "We will not argue with you, Supreme Commander," Yuna said. "Time will prove our worth." "Time?" Velcor moved even closer now, towering over the humans. "I will tell you what time will prove. It will prove that humans are a threat to galactic peace. It will prove that you should never have been allowed to leave your world. It will prove that I was right to oppose your petition." He looked directly at Taman now. "Your kind needs to learn its place in the galaxy. You need to understand that you are beneath us. You are lesser beings. You are nothing." Taman met his gaze without blinking. "We are human. That is enough." "Enough?" Velcor's face twisted with rage. "You dare speak to me with such arrogance? I am Supreme Commander of the Vrelian Empire. I control 40% of known space. I command fleets that could turn your pathetic world to ash." "And yet Earth still stands," Taman said quietly. The words hung in the air. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Velcor's face darkened with fury. "You need to learn respect," Velcor hissed. "You need to learn to bow before your betters." "Humans bow to no one," Taman said. It was the wrong thing to say. Or perhaps it was the right thing. Either way, it triggered something in Velcor. The Supreme Commander raised one of his forearms high into the air. "Then I will teach you," he roared. His hand came down in a powerful strike that connected with Taman's face. The slap echoed through the silent hall like a gunshot. Taman's head snapped to the side. His cheek burned with pain, and he tasted blood in his mouth. The entire hall seemed to freeze. No one moved. No one breathed. Velcor stood with his arm still raised, breathing heavily, clearly expecting Taman to fall or cower or beg for mercy. But Taman did not fall. He did not cower. Instead, something ancient and primal awoke inside him. Something that had been sleeping since humanity's ancestors hunted predators on the African plains. Something that every human carried in their genes, passed down through millions of years of fighting to survive on the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. His pupils dilated. His heart rate doubled. Adrenaline flooded his system like a tidal. Wave time seemed to slow down. Taemin's hand moved to the ceremonial blade at his side. 1 second. Blade cleared its sheath with a soft whisper of metal. 2 seconds. Taemin's body moved with the precision of a predator, refined by thousands of years of human combat training. 3 seconds. The blade rose in a perfect arc, too fast for most species in the room to even track with their eyes. 4 seconds. Velkor's expression changed from triumph to confusion, to horror as he realized what was happening. 5 seconds. The blade completed its arc. Velkor's head separated from his body and fell to the floor with a heavy thud. His body stood for a moment longer, still not understanding that it was dead, before it collapsed in a heap. The supreme commander of the Vrelian Empire was dead, and the galaxy would never be the same. For 3 full seconds after Velkor's head hit the floor, nobody moved. The entire reception hall was frozen in shock. Thousands of aliens stared at the scene, their minds struggling to understand what had just happened. Then chaos erupted. Aliens screamed and ran in every direction. Some fainted. Others activated personal shields or defense systems. The floating tables crashed to the ground as panicking creatures pushed past them. The beautiful crystal pillars cracked as heavy bodies slammed against them in the rush to escape. Velkor's guards finally reacted. 6 Vrelian soldiers drew their weapons and aimed at Taemin, but before they could fire, Sung-Ho and Hana had already moved. In one smooth motion, they both drew their own weapons, small human pistols that had been approved as ceremonial sidearms, and took defensive positions on either side of Taemin. "Do not move," Sung-Ho said, his voice cold and calm. His weapon was aimed at the nearest guard's center mass. The Vrelian guards hesitated. They had expected the humans to be scared, to surrender, to beg. They did not expect this. The 3 humans stood in a tight formation, weapons ready, eyes alert. They looked like soldiers who had done this 1,000 times before. Yuna stepped forward, placing herself between the humans and the guards. Her voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Under Galactic Law, Article 7, Section 3, any delegate who commits physical assault against another delegate forfeits all diplomatic immunity and protection. Supreme Commander Velkor struck Captain Taemin without provocation. Captain Taemin responded in self-defense. "This action is legal under Council regulations." Her words were clear and precise. She had memorized every law, every rule, every regulation. She knew exactly what she was saying. Jiwoo stepped up beside her, holding his tablet. "I have recorded the entire incident. The security systems of this station have also recorded it. The evidence is clear. Velkor attacked first. The human response was lawful. The Vrelian guards looked uncertain now. They were soldiers trained to follow orders. But their commander was dead, and the law was being cited against them. They did not know what to do. More guards arrived, but these were station security, not Vrelians. They formed a ring around the entire scene, keeping other aliens back but not yet intervening. A hologram appeared in the center of the hall. It showed the face of Council Arbiter Zenith, one of the 12 council leaders. Zenith was a crystalline, a species made of living mineral that communicated through light patterns translated into sound. "All beings will cease hostile actions immediately." Zenith's translated voice boomed. "This incident is now under council jurisdiction. The human delegation will remain in place. Vrelian forces will stand down. Security will secure the scene." The Vrelian guards slowly lowered their weapons. They did not put them away, but they stopped aiming at the humans. Hana and Sung-Ho also lowered their weapons but kept them ready. They formed a protective triangle around Yuna and Jiwoo, with Taemin at the point. The captain still held his blade, blood dripping from its edge onto the polished floor. Station security moved in carefully, as if approaching dangerous predators. They scanned the scene, took readings, and established a perimeter. Medical drones arrived and began scanning Velkor's body, though it was obvious he was dead. Through it all, Taemin stood perfectly still. His face showed no emotion. His hands did not shake. The blade in his hand was steady, but inside his mind was racing. He had just killed the supreme commander of the galaxy's largest empire. He had done it in front of thousands of witnesses. His action was legal according to galactic law, but law and politics were different things. This would have consequences. Massive consequences. "Captain," Yuna said quietly. Sheath your blade. Taman blinked, coming back to the present moment. He looked down at the blade in his hand, saw the blood, and slowly slid it back into its sheath. The soft click of metal on metal seemed impossibly loud in the tense silence. More holograms appeared. The other council leaders were watching now. Their faces showed different emotions: shock, fear, anger, curiosity. Arbiter Zenith spoke again. The human delegation will be escorted to a secure location. An investigation will begin immediately. This council session is suspended until further notice. Station security formed a tight escort around the humans. They guided them out of the hall through a side exit. As they walked, Taman could see aliens pressing against the security barriers, trying to get a better look at them. Some looked terrified. Some looked fascinated. All of them watched the humans with new eyes. They were no longer just primitive Deathworlders. They were something else now. Something dangerous. The security team took them to a small suite of rooms deep inside the station. "You will wait here," the security chief said. He was a graven, a species that looked like smooth gray stone in the shape of a person. "Do not attempt to leave. Do not attempt to contact anyone. The council will summon you when they are ready." The door closed and the humans were alone. For a long moment nobody spoke. Then Sung-Ho let out a long breath. "Well," he said, "that escalated quickly." Hana laughed, but it was a nervous sound. "Escalated?" Taman just killed the supreme commander of the Vrelian Empire in front of the entire galaxy. "He attacked first," Jiwoo said firmly. "The law is clear. Taman had every right to defend himself. The law does not matter if they decide to ignore it," Yuna said quietly. She sat down in one of the chairs, suddenly looking very old and very tired. "We just started a war." "We did not start anything," Taman said. His voice was quiet but firm. "Velcor started it when he decided humans were beneath him. When he decided to strike me like I was an animal that needed to be disciplined." "You could have just taken the hit," Sung-Ho said, though his tone suggested he did not really believe that. "No," Taman said. "I could not." He looked at his team. These people who had traveled across the galaxy with him, who trusted him to lead them. "If I had done nothing, if I had accepted that strike without response, what message would that send? That humans will accept abuse? That we will bow to anyone who threatens us? That we are less than other species?" "But now they will say we are violent," Hana said. "They already said we were violent," Taman replied. "They said it before we ever left Earth. They said it when we arrived. They said it in the council chamber and again at the reception. Nothing we do will change what they think of us. So I chose to show them the truth." "What truth?" Yuna asked. "That we are strong, that we will not be victims, that humans bow to no one." He paused. "Velcor said violence was in our blood." Maybe he was right. "But if violence is the only language the galaxy understands, then we will speak it fluently." Jiwoo was working on his tablet, his fingers moving quickly. "The incident is already spreading across the galactic network. Everyone is talking about it. I am seeing thousands of news reports, millions of comments." "What are they saying?" Hana asked. Jiwoo scrolled through the information. "Many things. Some species are calling for our immediate expulsion from the council. Some are demanding we be arrested. But others—" He paused, reading more carefully. "Others are saying Velcor got what he deserved. That he was arrogant and aggressive. That he finally provoked the wrong species." "The Vrelians will want revenge," Sung-Ho said. "Of course they will," Yuna agreed. "Velcor's death will destabilize their entire empire. They will need to show strength or they will appear weak. And the easiest way to show strength is to attack the species that killed their commander." Taman walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, their home. Billions of humans who had no idea what had just happened. They were depending on this delegation to secure humanity's place in the galaxy, and now that place was more uncertain than ever. "How long do you think we have?" he asked quietly. "Before what?" Yuna replied. "Before the Vrelian fleet arrives at Earth." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what he meant. If the Vrelians wanted revenge, they would not just attack the delegation. They would go for Earth itself. They would try to make an example of humanity's homeworld. "We need to warn them," Hana said. "All communications are blocked," Jiwoo said, checking his systems. "They are jamming everything. We cannot send a message out of this room." "Then we need to get out of this room," Sung-Ho said. "And go where?" Yuna asked. "We are in the middle of a heavily guarded space station surrounded by species that now see us as dangerous killers. Then we wait. Timon said. We wait for the council to make their decision, and we prepare for whatever comes next. He turned from the window to face his team. But understand this, I do not regret what I did. Velcor thought humans were animals that could be beaten into submission. He was wrong. And now the galaxy knows he was wrong. Outside the room, beyond the station, across thousands of light years of space, the news continued to spread. A human had killed a supreme commander. A Deathworlder had struck back. The galaxy was watching, waiting to see what would happen next. And somewhere in the darkness, the Vrelian Empire was preparing its response. The message reached Earth 3 days after the incident. It was not an official communication from the Council. Instead, it came through a sympathetic alien trader who was willing to risk using an unauthorized channel. The message was simple and terrifying. Vrelian fleet heading to human space. 50 warships. Arrive in 1 week. Admiral Hyunwoo read the message 5 times before he believed it. He stood on the bridge of the Soul, humanity's flagship and most powerful warship. Around him, the crew worked quietly at their stations, unaware that everything was about to change. Get me Earth Command, Hyunwoo said to his communications officer. Maximum priority. Within minutes, he was speaking with the military leadership of Earth's unified government. The conversation was short and intense. The evidence was reviewed. The threat was assessed. The decision was made. Earth would not surrender. Earth would not hide. Earth would fight. Hyunwoo was given command of the entire defense fleet. 12 ships in total. It was everything humanity had that could fight in space. 12 ships against 50 Vrelian warships. The odds were not good, but Admiral Hyunwoo had not survived Earth's final world war by accepting bad odds. He had survived by being smarter, faster, and more ruthless than his enemies. Now he would do the same thing against the Vrelians. Recall all ships to the border, he ordered. We meet them there. The human fleet gathered at the edge of their claimed space near a small moon that orbited a gas giant. It was a strategic position, chosen by Hyunwoo personally. The moon provided cover, and the gas giant's gravity well would interfere with some types of weapons and sensors. The 12 human ships formed a loose formation. Each ship was different. Some were converted exploration vessels upgraded with weapons, others were purpose-built warships, designed using captured alien technology and human innovation. The Soul was the largest, a battlecruiser that looked more like a knife than a ship, all sharp angles and aggressive lines. Admiral, we are getting readings, said Lieutenant Misun from the sensor station. She was young but brilliant, one of the best sensor operators in the fleet. Vrelian ships entering the system, counting 48, 49, 50 confirmed contacts. On the main screen, 50 red dots appeared, moving toward the human position. The Vrelian fleet was not trying to be subtle. They came in a standard battle formation, confident in their superior numbers. Open a channel, Hyunwoo ordered. Let us hear what they have to say. The screen changed to show a Vrelian admiral. He had the same purple skin and forearms as Velcor, but he looked older, with scars across his face and cold eyes. Human vessels. This is Admiral Torkath of the Vrelian Imperial Fleet. You are harboring a criminal who murdered Supreme Commander Velcor. Surrender your ships and prepare to be boarded. Your world will be placed under Vrelian authority. Any resistance will be met with total destruction. Hyunwoo stood up from his command chair. He straightened his uniform and looked directly at the screen. Admiral Torkath, this is Admiral Hyunwoo of Earth Defense Fleet. Your commander attacked a human delegate without provocation. His death was legal under galactic law. We have nothing to surrender and no crimes to answer for. Leave our space immediately. Torkath laughed. 12 ships against 50. You cannot win. You will die here and then we will burn your world. This is what happens when primitives challenge the Empire. Then come and burn it, Hyunwoo said calmly. If you can. He closed the channel and turned to his crew. All ships, battle stations. Execute Plan Hunter. The human fleet split apart, moving with surprising speed. 3 groups of 4 ships each, spreading out around the moon and using its mass to shield themselves from direct sensor readings. The Vrelian fleet advanced, expecting an easy victory. They had superior numbers, superior firepower, and centuries of combat experience. What they did not have was experience fighting humans. They are breaking into 3 attack groups, Misun reported. Looks like they are trying to surround us. Let them, Hyunwoo said. Wait for optimal range. The Vrelian ships came closer. 50 massive warships against 12 smaller human vessels. On paper, it was not even a fair fight. "Range in 10 seconds, the weapons officer called out. Hyun-woo watched the tactical display. Years of experience told him exactly when to strike. He waited, counting down in his head. "Fire," he said. The Soul and its 3 companion ships opened fire simultaneously, but they did not use standard galactic weapons. Human engineers had studied alien technology and then thrown most of it away. Instead, they built weapons based on human principles: kinetic force, explosive power, and overwhelming violence. Railguns launched solid metal slugs at tremendous velocity. Missiles accelerated on chemical rockets, carrying warheads designed to penetrate shields and armor. Point defense lasers tracked incoming fire with precision that most species found impossible. The first volley hit 3 Vrelian ships. Their shields held for almost 2 seconds before collapsing under the sustained bombardment. Then the hulls broke open, venting atmosphere and bodies into space. 3 kills confirmed, Misun reported, her voice shocked. "Admiral, their shields are weaker than expected." "Their shields are designed for energy weapons," Hyun-woo explained. "Most galactic species prefer lasers and plasma. Our kinetic weapons pass through energy shields like they are not even there." The Vrelian fleet was confused. They were not used to losing ships in the opening seconds of battle. They reformed quickly, bringing their superior numbers to bear. "Incoming fire," the defensive officer warned. "Multiple targets locked on us." "Evasive pattern Delta," Hyun-woo ordered. "All power to engines." The Soul twisted and accelerated in a pattern that would have torn apart most alien ships. The Vrelian weapons fire passed through empty space where the Soul had been a moment before. Human ships were built to withstand Earth's heavy gravity. That meant they could handle acceleration forces that would kill most alien crews. "Other groups report ready," communications said. "Execute," Hyun-woo ordered. The other 8 human ships emerged from behind the moon, attacking the Vrelian fleet from 2 different angles. The coordinated assault caught the Vrelians off guard. More ships died in the crossfire, their formations breaking apart. "They are adapting," Misun warned. "Changing tactics." "Of course they are," Hyun-woo said. "They are not stupid." But adaptation takes time, and time was something the Vrelians did not have. Human tactics were based on speed and aggression. Attack, move, attack again. Never stay in one place. Never give the enemy time to think. A young fighter pilot named Mi-sun, different from the sensor operator but sharing the same name, had her own battle happening in the space between the larger ships. She flew a small human interceptor, fast and deadly. Her job was to destroy Vrelian missiles before they could hit the bigger ships. "Interceptor wing. Target the missile cruisers," came the order from the Soul. "Take them out." Mi-sun grinned inside her helmet. This was what she had trained for. She pushed her fighter to maximum acceleration. Her body pressed back into the seat by forces that would have crushed most aliens. The G-forces were painful, but she had been born and raised on Earth. She was built for this. Her fighter dove through the battle space, dodging laser fire and debris. She locked onto a Vrelian missile cruiser and fired her weapons. The missiles struck true, and the cruiser exploded in a ball of flame that quickly died in the vacuum of space. "One down," she reported, moving to next target, but her fighter had taken damage. Warning lights flashed across her cockpit. Engine 2 was failing. Life support was reading yellow. She had maybe 10 minutes before the ship fell apart around her. "Screw it," she muttered. 10 minutes is all I need." She found another Vrelian cruiser and attacked with everything she had left. Missiles, railgun, even her emergency laser. The cruiser's shields flickered and died. Her final missile penetrated the hull and detonated inside the ship. The cruiser broke in half, but the explosion was too close. Debris slammed into Mi-sun's fighter, tearing off one wing and destroying her remaining engine. The fighter spun out of control, tumbling through space. "Interceptor 4 is hit," someone yelled over the comm. "Mi-sun is down." "I am not dead yet," Mi-sun gasped, fighting the spin. She could not control the fighter anymore, but she could still aim it. And directly ahead of her tumbling path was another Vrelian ship. She armed her self-destruct system. If she was going to die, she would take one more enemy with her. "For Earth," she whispered and triggered the destruct. Her fighter slammed into the Vrelian ship at tremendous velocity. The explosion destroyed both vessels completely. On the Soul, they watched the tactical display as another red dot disappeared, along with a blue one. "Confirm Interceptor 4 destroyed," Mi-sun, the sensor operator, said quietly. "No survivors." Hyunwoo closed his eyes for a moment, honoring the sacrifice. Then he opened them again. Mark her kill. Continue the attack. The battle raged for 2 more hours. The Vrelians had numbers and experience, but the humans had desperation and fury. Every human in that battle knew what would happen if they lost. The Vrelians would go to Earth. They would attack the homeworld. Billions of humans would die. So they fought like Earth had taught them to fight, with everything they had, holding nothing back. When it was over, the space around the moon was filled with debris. 3 months passed before the Galactic Council called another session. 3 months during which the galaxy could not stop talking about what had happened. The death of Supreme Commander Velcor. The battle at the human border. The impossible victory of 12 ships against 50. Everything had changed. The Vrelian Empire collapsed into civil war as different factions fought for control. Without their strong leader, the Empire fractured into dozens of smaller groups, each claiming to be the legitimate government. The instability spread across their territory like a virus. Other aggressive empires quietly withdrew their expansion fleets. Species that had been planning wars suddenly decided that peace was more attractive. The galaxy had seen what humans could do when provoked, and nobody wanted to be the next example. The council chamber looked the same as it had 3 months ago, but the atmosphere was completely different. When Captain Taemin, now promoted to Admiral Taemin, walked down the long ramp to the platform, every alien in the room watched with respect. And fear. He was not alone this time. The entire human delegation had been expanded. Ambassador Yuna walked beside him along with Hana, Sung-ho, and Jiwoo. They were joined by Admiral Hyunwoo, the hero of the border battle, and a dozen other human representatives. Each of them wore their ceremonial blades. Nobody suggested they leave them behind this time. A new ambassador named Eunji had also joined the group. She was younger than Yuna, with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. She specialized in galactic economics and trade agreements. Her job was to help humanity establish its new position in the galaxy. The 12 council leaders appeared in hologram form above the platform. Arbiter Zenith spoke first, their crystalline voice echoing through the chamber. The council has completed its investigation into the incident involving Supreme Commander Velcor and Admiral Taemin. After reviewing all evidence, testimony, and applicable laws, we have reached our conclusion. The chamber fell silent. Taemin kept his face neutral, but his heart was beating fast. Everything depended on this moment. Under Galactic Law, Article 7, Section 3, Supreme Commander Velcor's physical assault on Admiral Taemin constituted a violation of diplomatic protection. Admiral Taemin's response, while extreme by galactic standards, was legally justified as self-defense. No charges will be filed against any member of the human delegation. Relief washed through the human group, but nobody showed it. They remained professional and calm. Zenith continued. However, this incident has revealed significant oversights in how the Council evaluates new species. We failed to understand the nature of Deathworld species and the cultural differences that exist between humans and the majority of galactic civilization. Another council member spoke now. This was Arbiter Keyleth, a species that looked like a floating brain in a tank of liquid. The human species has demonstrated capabilities far beyond our initial assessment. Their combat effectiveness, tactical innovation, and determination are unprecedented. Some council members were afraid of what comes next, said a third arbiter, this one from an insectoid species. They wanted to restrict humanity further, to limit your expansion and military capabilities. Taemin felt tension return. This was the real test. But the majority of the council disagreed, Zenith said. We have seen what happens when humanity is threatened. We have seen what happens when humanity is disrespected. We do not wish to create an enemy when we could instead have an ally. The hologram display changed, showing a document floating in the air above the humans. The Galactic Council extends full membership status to humanity, effective immediately. You will have voting rights, territorial rights, and full access to galactic trade and resources. You may establish colonies without restriction, within unclaimed space. You will be recognized as a sovereign species with all associated rights and responsibilities. The chamber erupted in noise. Some species cheered, others protested. Most simply watched the humans with new eyes. Taemin stepped forward. On behalf of humanity, we accept the Council's decision. We thank you for this opportunity. There is more, Zenith said, and the chamber quieted again. Several species have requested formal military alliance treaties with humanity. They wish for protection, seeing what you are capable of in battle. This was unexpected. Taemin glanced at Yuna, who gave him a small nod. They had discussed this possibility but had not expected it to happen so quickly. We are willing to discuss defensive alliances, Taemin said carefully, but humanity will not become the galaxy's weapon. We fight to protect, not to conquer. We understand, Zenith replied, and that is precisely why so many species wish to ally with you. They have seen that humans honor their commitments. You defended your own world with ferocity. Many species hope you would show the same dedication to defending your allies. Arbiter Killeth added, the galaxy is not a peaceful place despite what some species like to pretend. There are threats out there. Pirates, raiders, aggressive empires that respect only strength. For too long, peaceful species have had no good options for protection. Now they do. Yunji stepped forward now, her voice clear and professional. If the Council approves, humanity would like to propose the formation of a mutual defense pact. Any species that joins agrees to defend the others if attacked. Humanity would provide military training and defensive coordination. In exchange, we request favorable trade agreements and access to advanced technology. The Council members looked at each other, communicating through methods the humans could not see. Finally, Zenith spoke. The Council will allow such agreements to be negotiated directly between species. We will not interfere, provided all parties enter voluntarily and the agreements comply with galactic law. Over the next hour, more details were discussed. Territorial boundaries, trade routes, technology sharing. The humans participated in every conversation with confidence and competence. They were no longer the nervous primitives begging for scraps. They were equals, demanding respect and getting it. When the formal session ended, delegates from dozens of species approached the human delegation. Some wanted to negotiate alliances, others wanted trade deals. A few simply wanted to express their support. The bird-like Kirik approached again, the same alien who had spoken kindly to them 3 months ago. I knew your species was special, Kirik said. Even then I could see it. You have changed the galaxy, humans. For better or worse, nothing will be the same. We only wanted to be left alone, Taemin said. We only wanted respect. And now you have it, Kirik replied. Fear and respect. They are not the same thing, but in galactic politics they produce similar results. Later, when the humans were finally alone in their quarters, they allowed themselves to relax. Sungho laughed and poured drinks for everyone. Hana smiled, a rare expression on her usually serious face. Even Jiwoo, always professional, allowed himself to celebrate. We did it, Yuna said, raising her glass. We actually did it. We survived, Taemin corrected. Now the real work begins, Hyunwoo nodded in agreement. Other species will test us. They will want to see if that battle was luck or skill. We need to be ready. We will be, Taemin assured him. Earth did not make us weak. It made us strong. And now the galaxy knows it. Yunji was already working on her tablet, making notes and plans. I have 17 species requesting meetings about trade agreements. 23 want to discuss military cooperation. 5 have asked about cultural exchange programs. Start with the trade agreements, Yuna suggested. Establish economic relationships first. Military alliances can come later, once we understand the political landscape better. They talked late into the night, planning humanity's future among the stars. They knew there would be challenges ahead. There would be species that still hated them, still feared them, still wanted them gone. There would be battles and negotiations and countless difficult decisions, but they had proven something important. They had proven that humans belonged in the galaxy, not as servants or pets or primitives to be tolerated, but as equals, as partners, as a force that could not be ignored. Far away on Earth, billions of humans went about their lives, most of them unaware of how close they had come to destruction. Children played in parks. Adults worked at their jobs. The planet turned in its orbit, beautiful and deadly, the same as it had always been. And in orbit around that world, construction began on new ships, bigger ships, better ships. Humanity was part of the galaxy now, and they would be ready for whatever came next. In the council chamber, now empty except for the cleaning drones, a small memorial had been placed where Velcor died. It was not for Velcor. It was for all the species in the galaxy, a reminder of an important lesson. The plaque read, "Never underestimate a Deathworlder. Never disrespect a human." Never raise your hand against those who survived Earth. Below the words was a simple image, a blue planet with white clouds and green continents. Earth, the death world, the forge that created humanity, and beneath that image, one final line. They call us Deathworlders. We call ourselves human. Both are true. Somewhere in the galaxy, on a quiet world far from council space, a young alien asked its parent the question that was on everyone's mind. Are humans really that dangerous? The parent looked up at the stars, thinking about the stories. The slap that ended in death,